All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory and praises due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. And again, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who's teaching this truth and sincerity, and also who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered four corners of the earth. Brother Yawanathan, from GMS Detroit. And coming to you for another lesson. We see, IUIC talking about, basically that money thing again. Got banned from France and all that. But we all know it's just for money, man. Elder Apostle Gabar always tells you, like, being a man of the Lord, now this is something that the Lord got to bless you with, is having discernment, okay? You just can't go along just to be along. You can't just follow anything. Lord doesn't deal with a man that is very gullible. You can't have a gullible spirit when it comes to these scriptures, man. You can't listen to everything that's going to be fed to you. We'll say blind leadeth the blind, they both fall into a ditch. Roughly paraphrasing. That's why you got to really have discernment. But before I get on to that, let's talk about, the purple bandits. All right. Give us this for your nation, such and such. It's beneficial to you. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. Now, when you do get into the scriptures, yes, you're supposed to tithe. Okay? And that goes for, Sakari, IUIC, they looking for loot, man. They looking for that bag. Now, we do, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give the Lord what belongs to the Lord. But the Lord just say, yo, just tithe. And when you get into the scriptures and get into a deeper understanding, it's just 10%. We don't do our crops or grapes or, things like that. But it also can be money. And your tithes is a 10% of your first fruit. So say like you made $100. So to tithe that, it'll be 10%. So that'll be out of that 100, it's going to be $10 out of that. Okay? The best goes to the Lord. The first of it. But you see, in these guys, they want to, they really want to get the bag, man. It's all for the bag. I don't know what I want to grab first. We'll grab Matthew 6. And verse 24. And it reads, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Yahweh and Mammon. So when you basically gets into it's basically money. So you look at the vibrations of these other camps. Got websites, pay for my subscription, pay for these subscriptions, pay for, they be selling like shirts and stuff to that nature. The Lord, like, yo, man, don't be trying to make the Lord's house a place of merchandise. Den of thieves, so on and so forth. That's not how the Lord's getting down, okay? Lord is dealing with the sincere, the contrite, and rich in faith. Okay? Because everybody know on this side, one, this money is filthy lucre. Second, this place is corruptible. people can steal it. You know, we want to store our treasures in heaven, you know. And we all know that real money is gold and silver. Not this fiat. Yeah, that's the word I want to use. Not this fiat money. You know, these federal notes that was backed up by gold reserves, but now it's the oil. But imagine these other, and that's when you gotta understand, like when you pay attention, the Bible is a real history book. You gotta look at things in the world, and that's why our elders and apostles, they get into history and get into the laws of this wicked country to break them down. You know, I said this in the last video, this place is nothing but unrighteous decrees, man. And, you know, when you look at the money, man, it's fluctuating where the American dollar is not as powerful that it used to be. And that's what's going to roll in. Once this dollar falls, that's when they got to enroll into that new digital currency, which man of the Lord is going to avoid, the MOTB, which is going to have your identification, your medical records, can track you, and your finances, and probably more. You know, it's out here, but it's not fully implemented for everybody. But it's coming to a time where that's going to be very close. Okay? But you see these guys, man, they're all for the bag, man. They're for the bag. And like I said, the Lord said his prophets shall eat, man. We don't need, the scriptures say money is defense. That's why you should have a job and to that, nature. But we're not leaning on money. We're leaning towards the Lord, man. You know, because these banks, man, once these banks close and shut down, it's over. It's a wrap. But yeah, you said these other congregations, these other Israelite groups that you can see is just for money. It's all for status. So I'm gonna grab the book of Titus. Just lock in. Here we go. So look at Titus 1 and sorry, this isn't exactly the KJV, but we can do start at 10. It's the point. And it says, this is Titus 1 and 10. For there are many who are, I'm going to try to get the best of the KJV. It says, verse 10, it says, for there are many vain talkers and deceivers, especially those of the circumcision. Basically knowing, when you look at, Nate, he's a household name in the Israelite community. All right. Saying things that he shouldn't be saying. Like, we got records, we're going to be cool and we'll be all right in time of Jacob's trouble. First off, the title, Jacob's trouble. This is all, that doesn't sound like a good title for Israel. Okay? And like I said, of the circumcision, basically knowing that you're basically you know that you're Israelite, because Israel, that's our custom. We supposed to be circumcised, okay? And you know, later on, and like I said, I'm Salakia that I didn't have the KJV on me, but it gets into, you know, teaching for filthy lucre, you know, that money. We're starting to see, as time progresses and prophecies are coming to pass, you're seeing who's the real prophets and who are the fake ones, man. And you see this is all for money. Let me grab this one, because this is what the real prophets are going to do. Let me get Ezekiel 33 and 33. And it tells you, and it says, when it comes to pass when it comes to pass, it will, then you will know that a prophet have been among you. So the Lord, that's how we give the message. You know, when the Lord speaks, he sends his prophets to deliver the message. Now, to discern if you're a real prophet or not is when a prophet speaks and things come to pass. Now, when I watch and see my elders and apostles, like when they get down with, you know, Revelations, Matthew 24th chapter, the prophetic to speak beforehand, you see that the Lord gave them the message. But when you see these other Israelite groups, and not even got to be on a prophetic note, it's the way they conduct themselves. You know, I look at IUIC, these guys are boastful, prideful. And when I look at Sakari, for another example, I see, you know, they're novices. Let me grab that one. And with a side of pride. Get that Timothy. Slovakia. Damn flush. Inside joke. I'm gonna drop that one. Like I said, this is not necessarily KJV, but it's basically being, you know, don't deal with novices. And you see, you know, who the head of Sakari is, which is, you know, Alizé. And he was under the tutelage of the elders and apostles of GMS. And there were certain things that was going on where he didn't want to listen. He couldn't handle the rebuke. And the more as time passed, you know, he didn't want to believe in the passage of Paul. Now, and this is my opinion, that he just don't even really believe in the New Testament, man. Does he really even believe in Yahweh Shai? I know he calls on the name, but all the scriptures are profitable, man. All the scriptures are. So you just can't, and like I said, the book of Paul ain't authoritative. Yahweh Shai gave him the authority too, you know? And I was saying about getting into the conduct of these other groups. Like I said, first off, you see Sakari bringing sticks to camp. The scriptures say, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. So where's the faith? Why do you need to bring Glocks and chops to minister? Okay? The weapons of our warfare isn't carnal. So you see something's up, and we got a list. We have a resume of these guys, man. That's why we want to just be amongst ourselves, be holy and separate. Okay? Because time is nigh, and you gotta have that spiritual ear and that spiritual eye to see these things. But hey, Thawada, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, that we can filter these things out now by first off the prophecies. You're seeing the wars going on. You see the tariffs. You see that the world is going out of balance. I looked up a couple weeks ago. Now, I believe is Taiwan. That is a place that does get hurricanes, and it tells you in the scriptures that there's going to be earthquakes in diverse places. But like I said, they do get earthquakes, but they had a record earthquake that that was off the charts that they haven't had in years. Okay? Scriptures also say the knowledge shall increase, the technology. I was a little boy, and I tried to learn. Like I said, I wasn't like a straight A student, but I tried my best, and I would listen. I got a good listening. I believe I have a great absorption of listening and taking in information. But one of my teachers said, and I was believe 8th grade, and she was like, listen, we go through World War III, that we ain't gonna survive that. But yet the scriptures is speaking where you see the wars. You're seeing the prophecies speak. Okay? So it's time for to either you rather have you hot or cold. So you better just get back in the world, or you better be on fire with this truth. Can't be half foot in and half foot out, or the Lord's gonna spew you out. Okay? It's not for money, man. This is the test of faith. But nevertheless, I hope this video was edifying, man, because we almost out of here. But again, first and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. And again, double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstones, teaching us truth and sincerity, and also who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. I want to close out, say shalom, and on to the next lesson.